now it's time for Michael Scott. Unleashed.
Good morning, everybody. Michael Scott here. And you know what? I don't have any really pithy things to say.
Why would you start off saying good morning when the fact is that people will be watching this on demand at all times of the day? So you say good morning, and then right now when we're live, it's good morning. But when it comes down to it, if somebody's watching it at 10 o'clock at night, you're just dated yourself. So just say
security,
hello.
Security.
Just start off and say hello, good day, how are you?
There's an old pain in the ass in here. How about you let me introduce you before you jump in?
I'm just saying, you want something pithy? I'm here to help with the pithiness. I'm a pithy guy.
I want to pithy all over you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't recognize those barking tones, Tom Becka is joining us this morning. He's sort of like a guest host with me today.
Is that what I am? I'm not getting paid for this, so
that's okay. Neither any of us.
Okay.
Right now. Speaking of Katie, of course, Katie Rain's with us. Katie,
there she is.
What are you looking on LinkedIn for a new job?
I shouldn't say good morning. I know that.
Yeah, just say howdy.
Just say hello. Yes.
Yeah. And of course, we have Cam with us.
Yeah, I got to bring
Cam, you got your camera set up?
I'm in.
Cam, I want you to know that my lady friend, the church lady, she thought you were really short.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looks like you're in one of those band pits on the end of a stage, like I'm talking down at you,
Hello up there.
Michael, your next line is... How tall are you?
Line. I'm 6'5", Michael.
6'5"?
I'm huge.
Guy's got his own zip code.
Yeah.
Because I told her, I think he's like 6'3" or something. Wow, 6'5".
Yeah, he's a tall young man.
Let me ask you the question, everyone. Did you ever play tight end?
I did not know. I smoked a lot of cigarettes, so sports were not my thing.
All right.
Just me being honest.
Cigarettes.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So that's what you're calling it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Becka, thank you for joining us. Tom Becka from KPTM TV, and you got your own podcast.
The own podcast with McGraw-Milhaven, who used to be a talk show host here in Omaha, but now he's in St. Louis, been there for a number of years. Mm-hmm. Good friend of mine. And so it's Becka and Milhaven just saying, also available on the Hurrdat website and of where else you get your podcasts.
And we have learned, thanks to the quarantine, that hosts do not need to be in the same city anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No, it really is an amazing thing when, you're an old broadcaster, I'm an old broadcaster, and you think about the equipment you used to have for something, right? I mean, I will go and I'll get video for the Fox 42 News, just using this.
Yeah.
And it's broadcast quality stuff, that you can do. I've got a microphone I plug in, and I can get a voice, a soundbite,
Soundbite.
Yeah. Use one of those professional broadcasting terms.
Well, when I got hooked up with Cam here, I said, okay, I'm going to use terms that are from broadcast days, but you can turn them into live streaming. Okay. You know where I'm going. He goes, so it's been a learning curve for me with him.
It is very cool though. It is very cool, but it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there's the social media. It's as I say, it's a tool, and just like a hammer, it can be used to build or destroy, and that's what this is.
Oh, is this your speech that you give journalism students? That's kind of good. I like it. Can I steal it?
Why would this stop you? Yeah.
Where was I going with you?
I have no idea. I'm just following your lead.
We should let you know that Ben Gray is going to be joining us today. Now, Ben and I also go back a long ways because I came here in '82 and Ben was working at Channel 7 News. He was a photographer and reporter. I'd call him a journalist. And he also did a community affairs show called Kaleidoscope. And I remember when I first met Ben and my friends back on the East Coast were like, so what's it like out in Omaha? How's that TV station? They got any black people there? And I said, yeah, there's a black guy here. I think he's channeling Malcolm X, though. Well, because back in the day, he had that squared hairdo, and he had the glasses, and he kind of looked like Malcolm X kind of thing working, and he was always angry.
Okay.
I was happy when I got him to laugh, It's going, oh, so you're not a completely pissed off brother here. Okay.
Well, that's a good brother to channel.
Well, that was back in the days when I don't think it's a secret to anybody that Ben was kind of like an apostle to Ernie Chambers.
Yeah,
and then they
that
had
translates.
and then they had a falling out. It was like, churches break up and become other churches.
Oh no.
But finishing on the intro and Ben Gray. Ben, of course, did Kaleidoscope. Do you know he's done it he did it for 40 plus years?
Really?
Because it was on in the 70s before I got here.
And then, but he's been out of broadcasting for a while, hasn't he?
But if he started in 75, 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so he did that. And of course, many of you know he was a three-term city council member?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
A long-time city council member, yeah.
And also very much of a community activist. He's one of those guys, if he sees something wrong in North Omaha or West Omaha, he's going to point it out. So we're going to bring him on. And it's really interesting to have him on today because of what's happening right now in the city of Omaha.
It really is. This is amazing. And
for those of you who don't know, there were indictments that were turned in this past Friday to a seated city council member and police officers.
Yes.
Go ahead.
2 former police officers, and then a guy that was a fundraiser who had already been controversial to begin with when they even brought him in.
Yeah.
This was interesting. I mean, you go back to when the FBI first raided the Pace Center and Vinny Palermo's house. Vinny was actually the acting mayor at the time. So we actually had the acting mayor's house raided by the FBI. Now he's, as this airs,
he's still in jail.
He's still in jail, Saunders County Jail, and going before a judge today. So we don't know, how this is all going to turn out.
And the mayor, Gene Stothard, said he should resign Friday.
Of course he should resign, but why would he?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you're Vinny, and thank God you're not, but if you were Vinny, why would you resign? Because he still gets paid being on the city council for 90 days. He has nothing to lose. All of a sudden, a guy that didn't pay his taxes, all of a sudden, a guy that's involved in this thing, and all of a sudden he's going to come up with ethics and integrity. I mean, come on. No, Vinny's not going to. Why would Vinny resign? I'll be very surprised. If Vinny resigns.
When I used to do that radio show in North Omaha, and I would talk about Vinny Palermo, I go, it must be the New Yorker in me. I always like going, yo, Vinny Palermo.
Oh.
And when I met him, I said, I just want to let you know, I do have fun with your name. And I told him why. And he goes, oh, I can understand. Hey, Vinny Palermo. We're with the waste disposal company. Yeah.
It'd be a shame if something were to happen to you. Yeah. No, I know. I mean,
Let's stop before we have to apologize to the whole Italian-American community.
Well, that's it. I mean, and that's the thing. And then, just to make things even more confusing, one of the former police officers that got arrested was also named Palermo, and they're not related.
Yeah, I know. It threw me. I had to go back and look.
Yeah. No, they're not related.
They're not related, yeah.
No relation.
I literally just assumed.
No, yeah, that's what everybody does. That's why, if a lot of the articles will say, no relation. Yeah, because,
wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're related now in that they're both.
Well, they're not related in that sense.
And Gonzalez.
Yeah, they're not related by blood. Yeah.
And Gonzalez was the one that was running for the sheriff's deputy. Sheriff's seat? Was that the one?
No. That was his brother.
That was his brother.
Yeah.
Who was related to Cindy Gonzalez.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no. And by the way, that's the sad thing about this because the collateral damage with it all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean,
small town.
It is a small town. B, you got family members who've been name is now being smudged by this, but even that the kids with PACE. I mean, PACE is an organization that works with at-risk youth in North and South Omaha with baseball, little league, and with basketball and sports activities and that. And the city had $360,000 earmarked for PACE. That's on hold. I spoke with a friend over the weekend who over the years have given thousands of dollars to PACE. He's not giving another dime. So these kids are getting hurt by the, with collateral damage because of the actions of, these 4 people. And there may even be more. Chief Smotter has said that he wouldn't be surprised if there were more arrests. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are not familiar with PACE, I had to put it into my head like, when I was growing up, we had the Police Athletic League, and I was in the band, but they also did sports and basketball and stuff like that. Boys and Girls Club, back east was a big deal too.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like that.
And not only that, there is a great art center in Council Bluffs called the Pace Center. The Potawatomi Arts. I mean, there's a Pace Center there that has got, it's a great artist community where they have photographers and artists and culinary arts and all this. And they do some wonderful things over there in Council Bluffs, also called Pace, that is in no way, shape, or form related to this. So it's just, a lot of people are just being, if not hurt, at least somewhat attached to this in a way that, it's very sad because they don't need to be.
Collateral damage.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a pause on that because we got Ben Gray. He's in the building, I hear.
Okay.
But right now, let's go to Katie Rain over here. Katie and I had an interesting conversation driving in because I'm having a flare-up of gout.
Uh-huh.
And for those of you, it's known as the rich man's disease, but that's wrong, okay? And the doctor goes, well, do you drink a lot of beer? And I go, I'm not a beer drinker. And he goes, do you eat a lot of shellfish? I go, yeah, I like shrimp. He goes, that's the shrimp. But I hadn't eaten shrimp in weeks.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden it just hit me Friday morning.
What about red wine? Red wine's part of it too.
I don't
isn't it?
drink red wine either.
So gout, all those things trigger it?
Yeah, supposedly they're triggers.
Huh.
Oh, here we go. Here she goes. And then she's getting riled up.
You know I am.
Katie is a kind of a health expert kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
She's got her own brand of healthy stuff. And I'm looking over there. Can they see what's on your desk? Show them what's on your desk.
I don't
Pick it
know.
up.
Can
So show them. They're bottles of green stuff.
Oh, she has to shake it up because the stuff's settling on the bottom.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That means it's fresh.
Is that what it means?
Yeah. This ain't what you'd buy off.
Or it could mean it's sand.
I don't know.
This ain't what you buy off the shelf with all the preservatives.
It looks
and all
like
that.
Aquaman's urine sample, to be honest.
Oh my gosh. Well, would you like the sample?
As long as it's cold.
What? Okay, so what's
That's
in
why
this?
I got
what-
ice for you.
Is this like wheatgrass or what is this?
Why does it have to be green? Can't you put like a little food coloring in it or something? Why does it have to be green?
Heck no.
Make it grape. I'll suck down grape.
Well,
It's a black
I
thing.
do put grape in some of my juices, but
Okay.
not this blend.
Okay. All right, let's try
It's
it.
green because it has kale. This has green apple and celery.
Of the three,
And
I don't do celery in food. And what was the first
and
thing?
ginger.
I do ginger.
Just try it.
She was in college with me. But anyway,
Actually, that doesn't sound half bad.
but the kale.
The kale is sort of but I like ginger. I like celery. I like what was the other one you had in there?
Green apple.
Green
Green
apple.
apple.
Yeah.
Well, God
Do you-
didn't
do
make
you
little
guys-
green apples.
Do you guys drink
You know, right in
alcohol?
Minneapolis. Old guys.
Do you
Okay.
guys drink alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
How many shots have you taken in your life?
Are you serious?
I'm
How many shots of
Dead
alcohol have I
ass.
taken? Remember, we're way older than you.
all right then. So you could take a sip of my juice.
Okay,
That's
let's
my
serve it
point.
up. Serve it up. Serve it up. Let's go.
No, you see, but on the other hand, I've gotten in trouble when somebody says, "Oh, here, have a shot of this. What's in it? Oh, don't worry about it. Just drink this."
And that's the first time you met Jägermeister.
Oh,
I hate that stuff.
Nothing like a good
Candy-
green shot right bright and early in the morning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Get you
Because
settled in.
Jägermeister's green, isn't it?
no, it's black.
Black?
Yeah, it's dark.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, Jaeger.
Are they both?
Yeah.
All three are the same thing?
I drank way too much Jaeger when I was in Germany.
Oh. I hear they still talk about you back there.
Really?
They named a pavilion after you.
Really? Pinkies up.
Katie's Kiosk.
She's fancy. She's fancy.
Y'all are crazy.
Okay, so what got you involved in making your own health drinks like this? What?
Oh my gosh, he's getting me started.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. It's
getting
called an
me
interview.
started.
You're up here pitching a product here. Come on.
Because quite
All
honestly,
right.
in my life, I've thought about a lot of things, but my own line of
Can you
health
go-
drinks has
Can
never
you,
been
can you
one.
grab that? Cam,
it
would you
shows
like
too,
some
Tom.
too?
Yeah, I'll try that stuff.
Yeah, Cam.
You don't even know how.
Oh, my
God! In your day?
Oh, yeah. I think
Michael,
It smells
more than you guys.
Michael,
I feel like I'm cleaning my fish tank again.
well, clean it. Clean your fish tank. So-
Is it sweet at least?
It might be. Just taste
I
it.
wish I had brought my
Hand me a cup.
sweeture with me. Oh yeah.
So here's the thing: you don't need no sweetener. Just
you
drink
don't
it.
need no
You
sweetener.
don't need no sweetener. I actually do have a sweeter blend, but
Well, you can taste the kale.
Anyways, so,
Okay, so
Is this
what
an
got me started is my grandma just celebrated her 103rd birthday.
last week?
Okay.
wow.
Okay.
Ooh.
So my company is called Rain's Magic, the Detox. I actually started on the radio with Michael Scott. Well, not with him, but I had a channel,
Yeah, she had a
Mhm.
show.
a
That
show, a channel, a show. And it just I would talk with like-minded individuals about detoxing your mind, your body, and your soul. Because even last week we talked about mental health. I think that's a huge deal, and even your body health. And my grandma literally taught me how to garden, about all healthy stuff. And now it's like kind of flipped, where I take care of her in her older age, and she's done a lot in the community. And it just she just taught me how to, along many others, but she was one of the people that just taught me how to be a boss. But she also taught me how to take care of myself and my mind. And she's cured herself from breast cancer twice. So
You know,
so that's not, it might taste, but so does alcohol.
but in all honesty, it's just guys like us, because you can tell what a health nut I am. It's just easier for guys like us to mock it and to make jokes about it. But you're right. This stuff does not taste bad.
Yeah.
And it's not, it doesn't taste bad, but yeah, it's easy to make fun of because, kale, huh?
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's probably, a good thing for me.
Yeah.
If you could make it taste like grape soda, you'd have a winner, though.
No, that's what I'm telling you. I
Yeah.
do have a sweet blend,
Yeah.
a very sweet blend, but
'Cause
that has a lot
I can
of
taste the
kale in it.
green in my throat.
It's
you know?
very earthy.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah,
earthy.
yeah,
flavor.
that's the
Yeah.
word, earthy.
You know what this needs?
That's the sand.
Vodka.
That's
It
the
needs
sand at the
vodka.
bottom.
You know,
No, but you actually can drink alcohol with it.
Can you?
but
Mhm.
that's funny you said that because I was going, what bag do I have? Because I have my flask in one of my bags. Put a little something in here for daddy. You want somebody?
Yeah.
But yeah, it speaks directly to your cells. It translates directly to your cells, and like you said, you can feel it. Like that's not just a feeling. That's you actually absorbing and feeling it. That's your body talking to you.
You know what? When I started in TV, and I was back in '77 in Tucson, and they said, "There's a guy we want you to interview. He is Wajirian or something like that, and he's on fast." And we come over,
Ah.
and he's got like these jars of things floating around. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's from my colon fast. Those are." And I'm going, "What?"
Wait a minute. So he had the stuff that was eliminating out
From
of
his
his
system,
body. Yeah.
and he's saving it in jars. I thought it was Howard Hughes for a minute.
Huh.
This is my urine over here.
That's
it-
weird. There was worms and stuff, huh?
Yes.
Now, you see, this is why you don't start off your podcast by saying good morning. Because you don't want to be talking about this stuff in the morning, okay? This is why you don't.
This is,
I asked, do you want to get me started?
this is a great lead into Ben Gray as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, Ben, we were talking about green worms. How are you doing? Good morning.
Hey, Cam, is he out in the lobby?
He's out there. I'm gonna grab him here.
Yeah, let's grab
Go
him.
to break.
Let's take a break and get Ben Gray here.
And I'm going to move down like the old Johnny Carson.
Johnny
talk
Carson,
show,
yeah.
right? Okay.
You go sit next to Ed McMahon.
Okay.
She's my Ed McMahon. Go sit next to her. And we're going to get Ben Gray out here. And again, talking about the big news of the day. Indictments handed down. City council members still sitting in jail. This is what's happening in Omaha, folks. Ain't no small town. We're back. Hey, everybody, Michael Scott here with Tom Becka, and Ben Gray has joined us, and I told you everything about how much I know him. It's funny. A year ago, we were sitting in scooters talking, and we must have gone into like an hour and a half, and I said, you know what, Ben? I've known you 40 years. I've never sit down with you this long and have a conversation. I'm learning stuff about you. I'm going, you did that? And your brother did what? You guys are crazy. But I'm having fun here because both of these guys from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm from New York, Nickland.
Why you bring that up?
Oh, man, I thought about that this morning. Oh, I'm going to have fun with this. So do you think they have a shot, the Cavs?
They have a shot.
Because they're
Not
down
a good
3.
shot.
They're down
Yeah.
3-1, right?
Yeah.
How many games you got to win? 4?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but you remember, of course, we're Cleveland. We only had to win one game against the Cubs in the World Series, and that didn't work out so well. So, yeah, I wouldn't hold our breath. Yeah.
Do we have the tune Cleveland Rocks? Probably best
They
because it
probably have it,
doesn't.
but not licensed to use.
Yeah.
You can always sing it.
Actually,
Cleveland Rocks. Cleveland Rocks.
There's a Cleveland comedian that has a joke. She says, Cleveland Browns fans stay in bad marriages longer than anybody else because they keep thinking, well, next year it'll be better. Yeah. So that's sort of the whole Cleveland mentality there. Yeah.
Hey, I could not have timed it better having you come on the show, though, because I asked you on a Wednesday or Tuesday to be on the show, and Friday I get this call from him. Michael, you see what's going on? I go, no, what? And he goes, pace. And I'm going, in my head, I'm going, pace. Toothpaste? What's he talking about? Because that was so last year. But last year, Ben and I were working for this outfit briefly called Nebraska Sunrise News. And it was you who broke the story about what was going on. This was before the indictments. This was a year ago, mind you. And we had people accusing us of being political patsies for running. It's a hit job. Why would you run something like this? And oh, it's vindication. He just came in. How you doing, Ben?
No, it's just, we look at that and we say, we had some pieces that we had. We didn't have all the pieces, but we had enough pieces to do a story. And people questioned why we did it, especially during an election year and all of that. But we had sources that confirmed for us that certain things were going on. And so without being too aggressive, and we weren't with that story, we could have been more aggressive. I knew more than I said. We knew more than we said. So, but I didn't want to be aggressive because we knew, you and I both know, Tom, we all know, being in journalism, the hit people are going to come out. You did this wrong. You did those kinds of things. And what bothered me was that that paper came to an end and we didn't get a chance to continue following the things that we knew. And so,
which is frustrating.
Yeah, it was highly frustrating that we didn't get a chance to do that because we recognized that there was something out there. And the sources that we all had, when it started out, we had 2 or 3 really good sources, but I had not tapped into mine yet. And then when I started tapping into my sources, there was a lot of smoke.
There's a problem with, I think, with the new media and how fractured it's become, okay? Because back in the day when you were at Channel 7, Channel 7 had, if you would have had that story on Channel 7, it would have been, everybody would have known about it. Same thing with when I was over at KFAB. If I had a story like that, everybody would know about it. Now it's so fractured. You had the story, but it was still such a small sliver of the news environment that and people got stuff coming at them so fast and rapidly. A story like that gets 10 minutes of notoriety, and then it's like, ooh, something shiny over here. Well, and it's sad.
That was the problem where we worked because it was a newsletter that was pretty much aimed at politicians.
Yeah,
and it was word of mouth. There were no ads on TV saying, hey, if you want to find the real story, turn to Nebraska Sunrise News. So maybe a couple of 100 people knew about the story, but it got a strong reaction from the people involved. And help me out here, Ben, because Tom gave us a thumbnail sketch of what this was all about. For people who are just joining us, tell us again how we got to this point on Friday with indictments.
Well, I don't know how they got to it.
Okay.
I know how we got to it. I
Tell us there.
I was first made aware that there were some activities that were highly questionable, and people on our team, our writers and so forth, and our
They did some serious brainstorming. I saw those meetings. Yeah,
we had, and that's what people don't get about journalism. That's the thing they miss. These are intense meetings because you don't want to get it wrong, and you don't want to say something that nobody said to you. So you got to be really careful with these kinds of stories, and just to blurt things out like you hear on some of the media channels now is beyond ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Journalism is not that. It has never been that. It has always been do your homework, dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you got it right, and make sure you're telling a story that's fair and balanced.
I always tell young people, if you want to get an idea how it should be in a newsroom, watch All the President's Men.
Yes.
Yeah. I always, it's a notepad and a telephone. But that's how you covered stories back then.
But that's how it should be. And
yeah.
we had information. I went and talked to a couple of my sources that I trusted very much. Got a lot of the same story. And so when we came back, we looked at what we had and we reported what we felt comfortable enough to report on, knowing that there were some other things out there and knowing that I knew more than I was saying at the time, but I couldn't connect the dots. For example, Pace did come up, but we didn't report on Pace because we couldn't connect that dot. And so as a journalism newsroom, as we were, if you can't connect that dot, then you don't tell that story.
Oh no! Wait! No, you're just protecting Pace. Some man is paying you. Somebody is paying you so that you won't tell the truth.
You're absolutely right in saying that people say that.
I know.
But the fact of the matter is that if you don't know it, you can't connect that dot, you don't do that story.
Right? Yeah.
You don't do that part of the story. Yeah. And as much as we knew and had heard some of this stuff, if you can't connect the dot, don't do the story.
And oftentimes lawyers are involved in all of this.
Yeah.
So you got to talk to the lawyers to make sure it's like, okay, is this okay to say this?
That was one thing I was impressed of with Nebraska Sunrise News, to be in those editorial meetings, because we had a lot of guys there who were
conservative,
40 years, but they were very conservative, but they were journalists.
But they were journalists.
Yeah.
They were journalists. That was the thing. They were journalists.
Ben, I want to ask you something here, because allegations are made about Vinny, taking kickbacks before he goes and puts, votes for contracts and things like that. Mm-hmm. When you're on the city council, I mean, obviously I'm not mentioning names or anything like that. Were you offered opportunities, or other councilmen offered opportunities of like, hey, let me take care of this for you. And by the way, I'd like you to vote this way. I mean, how prevalent was this? Did Vinny just sort of happen to be the guy they picked on, or?
Tom, it's hard for me to answer that question because to me, it's a lot of ways of how you carry yourself. See, if you carry yourself in a way that, I'm not going to have any foolishness, and I'm not going to do, and you're not going to be able to run game on me, and you're not going to make me do something that borders on being illegal when I know better. So it depends on sometimes how you carry yourself. The other thing, and this is speculation, and I kind of hate doing that because we're in the fact finding business, or we were in the fact finding business, and so I don't know. I guess I would say that those opportunities are there. I know they're there because you've seen enough politicians take advantage of them, and you've heard about the kickbacks and all of the things that went wrong. You heard about all of that. But I think a lot of times it depends on how you carry yourself, and in this particular instance, I just let people know that no, I'm not about that. I'm about District 2.
And you know what? Whatever business you're in, you gotta stand up.
Yeah.
My last anchor job was in Huntsville, Alabama. And I came in and looked, and I was the managing editor too. So I had a bigger say on what goes in the show. And an afternoon show, we had a 5-minute segment off the top of these portable tornado shelters, where you can get a tornado shelter of your own and put it in your backyard and it'll protect you. And I was going, why are we leading the newscast with that? That's not a lead here. We're not in tornado season. And then I find out that our acting news director got a free one.
Mhm.
And I went to the GM and I said, I'm not doing this show with this up in the top. You can go find out why I'm angry, but we're not doing it. And he came back, he called down, he goes, I checked into it. It's in the weather segment where it belongs. I said, thank you very much. You got to call him on the BS.
Yeah.
That always happens. I mean, you've always got to fight for stories, but in this particular instance, Michael, for this story, we spent days,
weeks. Well, we only had a few, but we had
wrestling with it, wrestling with what we had, what we didn't have, what we knew, what we didn't know. How do you put it together, so forth. And even when we put it together, we still made a couple of minor mistakes. But at the end of the day, it was still a story that we could stand by.
Hey, just to give you this out of, you were talking about Channel 7. Channel 7, Vinny Palermo's federal indictment does not affect his ability to remain on the city council. That's according to the city attorney. For those of you who are just catching up with us right now, Palermo was named in a federal indictment that was filed on April 19th. He is charged in a wide-ranging conspiracy to defraud taxpayers and donors to the Latino Peace Officers Association and Omaha's Police Athletics for Community Engagement Program, which is better known as PACE.
Michael, can I say something about, not necessarily about that, but I want to talk about, I work with many, and so I'm a little disappointed. I'm more than a little disappointed. Knew his wife, a really great woman, but I want to digress a little bit to Tennessee, because 3 individuals who were in the legislature were summarily dismissed by the legislature, and nobody bothered to ask the question about due process. Vinny Palermo has due process. All of these guys, whether they're whether we find them guilty or not, that's to be determined later on, but they all have a right to due process. To summarily get rid of 3 individuals simply because you didn't like their politics, and so now hundreds of thousands of people are going without representation, and nobody bothered to ask, what's the policy on this?
Yeah.
Can you do this? Do they have a right to do this? I mean, and I can go across the board in other cities and say the same, but I'm saying, we got to, those of us who are being put upon regularly now, we need to know what the policies and the procedures and the rules are for government, because a lot of this stuff that they're doing, they can't do.
Well,
and if you read the Constitution, state or federal, you would know that that's not true.
You remember who Jonathan Benjamin Alvarado is?
Yes.
He's now at TCU, and he was my first guest. And this happened the week after the whole crap went down in Tennessee, and he's basically along the same lines.
There's due process.
Yeah, and you have to,
whether they're guilty, innocent, whatever. What happened with Pace is bad. If these guys were guilty, that's bad. But Tom, damn it, they have their due process.
The other day, I thoroughly agree with you. And you talk about the Republicans in Tennessee should know the process, because these idiots that kick these guys off, they're back in a week or 2 later, right? And then they're going to get reelected. And it's like, okay, look, yeah, if they wanted to censor them, if they wanted to in some way, criticize, that's fair game, because it was just a crazy situation. But you're right, to just kick them off like that. And then even though the woman that stayed, the white woman that stayed, was only stayed by like 1 vote or so, so most of them still voted to kick her off. It comes across looking very bad that the African-American men are gone and the white woman stays. So even just the optics of that.
Well, it was great though when they asked her on camera, they went, well, why are you still here? Because I'm white.
And that very well maybe those few that voted to not to kick her off, that may have been their reason. I mean, the majority still voted to kick her off. But at the same time, the optics of that just look bad. And this is the problem. The Republican Party in general has got to get their stuff together again. I mean, if we're going to, because the crazies are running the asylum right now. And
there's a friend, Bob Cullinan. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Bob and I keep in touch. Bob's on the West Coast, and we were talking about a mutual friend of ours who now lives in Tennessee. And we're going, what's happened to him, man? he like really changed. I mean, he became really radical and he unfriended us. And I said, keep in mind what's going on in Tennessee. And I said, this is going on. Also, you had 2 different police departments in Tennessee, one who beat a man to death and another one that had some kind of sex party going on. And then I said, keep in mind, Tennessee is where the Ku Klux Klan was formed.
Mhm.
Tennessee is where they killed MLK, Martin Luther King. This is Tennessee. Why is this a surprise?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Did I go off a little bit too much?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But what you need to do is have a discussion sometime about states' rights and how all of this came about, because people just they don't, the reason for federal intervention into various programs, and let's just take education for a minute. Brown versus Board of Education was decided in 1954. Okay. The Omaha Public Schools didn't desegregate until 1976. Okay. And that's all. And you can go city by city. And that's the reason why the Department of Education was formed in 1979, because because states were not allowing black young men and women to go to the same schools. They were still allowing segregation, even though a law was passed nearly 20 years earlier, and we're still doing the same thing. The Fair Housing Act was the same way. There had to be a federal Fair Housing Act because in various cities and states, people were redlining, keeping people out. You know the stories. I don't need to tell you guys
Well,
the
you know what?
stories.
He just said something about Republicans are out of control, not grasping.
Well, okay, the crazies have taken over.
Okay.
And that's the issue. I mean, they're a good Republican. Look, I think Don Bacon, I may disagree with him on an issue here or there, but I think Don Bacon is a man of integrity.
And he has to, because he's in a purple district.
Well, yeah. To
It's
some
a smart
extent.
move. But the question I want to go is, watching what happens in Tennessee, watching what happens in Florida and in Texas, how much more vigilant do we need to be here of the people who are pulling the strings when it comes to things about abortion, gun rights, education? Do we need to be watching more the Republicans who are in charge?
Well,
And checking
I'll
them?
just say government in general, okay? And this goes back to the earlier comment I made about your previous organization, is because it's so splintered. I mean, the World Herald is a pamphlet now compared to what it used to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and God love it. Okay, you take a look at the TV reporters. There's a few old guys like me still hanging around. I'm not a reporter, I'm a commentator, but a few old guys like me that are hanging around. And we got some good young reporters, but these young reporters get to the point when they're, 26, 27, 28 and saying, the hours are long, the job is hard, I'm not making any money.
Is there a PR job out there?
Precisely. All of a sudden they say, some school board or some, industry needs a public information director, and we're going to offer you 6 figures and a 9 to 5 without all the grief.
What
Sign me up.
What
And so that's the fear for democracy about keeping an eye on these people. Plus the fact, with everything coming at you all the time so rapidly, it's yesterday's news.
1 second. Hey, folks, just to let you know, we're scrolling at the bottom of the screen, different places where you can comment. And Katie is over there manning the laptop. Nothing here? Nothing?
We're listening.
Listening. If you have
and
if you have a
had
question
few,
or
shares too.
yeah, if you have a question or a comment, please let us know. I got these 2 guys here. I'm paying them by the hour, so let's use that, okay?
The other night,
I didn't hear about that part about
It's what I'm paying you, though.
You neglected to tell me that.
What am I paying you in? It could be sunflower seeds, okay?
or one of Katie's drinks.
Oh, you know what?
No,
you're a health
but
nut. Wait a minute. You're a health nut.
No,
You're going to try this before you leave.
We'll see. The question that you raised about how diligent we need to be. I mean, I think that's the question of the hour, Michael. That is the question. How diligent do we need to be? When we look in just about every state, including this one, they're trying to turn the clock back on voting rights. How diligent do we need to be? We needed to be on this yesterday, because the things that are happening they're happening faster than we can even respond to them.
We elected a governor that wouldn't debate.
I know.
All we knew about our governor that we elected is that he had a shotgun and children are our future. I mean, that wouldn't debate any of the issues.
My problem with that will get me into this whole thing is because his commercials were only white people. It's like, does he ever get into Lincoln or Omaha?
It was all about Western Nebraska.
Yeah,
You're right.
And he's got guns in his hands. He's got his little, children of the corn grandchildren with him, and it's like, does he even know how to talk to a black person?
I will say this: I'm not. He's doing a better job than I thought he'd be doing. I'm not what I've seen so far. I'm not as disappointed as I thought I would be so far. But you take a look what's happening in Lincoln right now with the unicameral, what a circus that's become. It's
but the worst thing that happened to the unicameral was term limits.
Yeah,
that was the worst thing that could have happened to it, because now the lobbyists and the governor run the legislature now, not the legislature. That's all. You got people there. I go down and visit. I used to go down and visit on a regular basis, but every time you go down there and you talk to them about any kind of institutional memory, you remember what happened with Omaha when you did this, thus and so? Well, I'm sitting there looking at 9 people that had no clue what happened, no idea. So that institutional memory is gone. I know that Senator Wayne is getting kicked around for wanting to increase the number of terms that people serve, but in politics, man, unless you know it already. When I got on the city council, I knew how everything worked already.
Yes.
So I could pass they said, man, you introduced two pieces of legislation within the first month you were there.
Yeah, you had no honeymoon period. You jumped right in.
Because I knew how it worked. And if you don't know how it works, it takes you 2 to 3 years to figure it out. Tom, do we still know? I mean, we still wrestle with the budget today.
Yeah.
The city budget, how complicated it is.
What's the current term limits?
8 year, 2 4-year terms.
Yeah.
So 8 years.
8 years.
And like a lot of other states that have term limits, it's a bicameral. So they do 8 years in the House. Now they'll do 8 years in the Senate.
Yeah.
So you still have some of that institutional knowledge. But this also goes back to the media thing I've been talking about, because there's not a lot of institutional knowledge in a lot of these media outlets.
Not really.
Because they're all young kids.
Yeah.
You don't know how the story's developed.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I do at Fox 42 is, besides my commentary, is I will work with our reporters and say, this is a news story, and here's some people we can talk to about it. And by the way, here's why this is a news story, and here's what happened 8 years ago, when you were in college, and
And that's the hardest thing when I used to be at Midland College teaching, telling my students, you basically have a minute 15, another 15, make it a minute 30 with the intro to tell a story that's been going on for 10 and 20 years. And you have to update what's going on today. So it's a difficult task.
Yeah.
And it takes skills.
If people don't recognize, unfortunately, I don't think people recognize the way they should. They ought to spend time in the newsroom. Man, you don't want to be in that newsroom when those deadlines are hitting, because you got to get that. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, Michael. You got to be in there.
Tucson, Arizona, started in February '77. Was not supposed to go out for a month. My boss left me with the assignment editor. He sent me out 3 days afterwards. Okay. Boss comes back and he goes, why is he out? And he goes, he figured it out. But the same assignment editor coming up behind me at 3:45 and putting his hands on my shoulder as I'm typing, going, you better type like your job depends on it, because it does. I'm going, okay. I'm going, I can go back and sell shoes. I don't need this.
Job's hard. I mean, if you do it right, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard work. It's long work. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of reading.
And if you do it right, you're not going to please everybody, which means that you're going to hear about it. I mean, people will say to my sister sometimes, yeah, I hear you're Tom Becka's sister. Her answer, that depends.
Well, when I'm out with my lady friend, who we call Church Lady, and people walk up and go, are you Michael Scott? And I go, does he owe you money? And they go, no. And I go, okay, I'm Michael Scott. I don't want to hear it right now. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Let's take a break. Talking with Tom Becka and Ben Gray. It's like old home week here. We'll be back in a sec. Welcome back to Michael Scott Unleashed. Down here at the end, we have Tom Becka. He is a journalist.
I'm not a journalist. I'm a commentator.
He's a commentator.
That's a different thing. I'm allowed to have an opinion, okay? As opposed to a journalist, supposed to say, these are the facts. Me, I say, these are the facts, and here's why it sucks. That's what I do, okay? Yeah.
Thank you for your opinion.
Yes.
Anyway, he also has a podcast of his own. And also next to him is Ben Gray, journalist, politician, community activist. Is that pretty good? Got any other hyphens I need to throw in there?
We'll settle for those three.
You know what?
Cleveland Browns fan. He's a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard this while you were waiting. We were talking briefly about Kaleidoscope.
Mm-hmm.
What year did Kaleidoscope start? 75?
79.
79.
Well, actually, it started prior to that. See, I didn't name it.
Okay.
It already existed a couple of years before I got it.
Okay, I thought it was around.
Yeah, so I actually became the permanent host in January of 79, but it had been a product of, if you will, the riots and things that had existed in the city for a while. People trying to get, people of color on the air and start talking about different things.
So from 79 to when? When did you finally end it?
2007.
2007. So what is it? How many years?
28.
28?
28.
Okay, I said 40. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was going, it's been around 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, I've been around for longer than but I mean, you're talking about the show.
For someone who doesn't know what Kaleidoscope is, tell them what it was.
Kaleidoscope was a public affairs news show that handled news from an African-American perspective. That's the way I tell people Kaleidoscope was. Kaleidoscope was a news show that took on issues of the day. I mean, we didn't take on anything that wasn't new or whatever, but we took on various news stories, and we did it from an African-American perspective. And bringing that up, Michael, I had a lady from France who was doing her PhD at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, and she wanted to do her dissertation on Black media in the 70s and 80s. And she called me because she said, I found a little bit at Channel 7, but I couldn't find anything. And I said, I got nearly 30 years of shows. How do you not find? And so what we've done is we have our own 501c3 now, and we've digitized most of my shows, and we're going a step further now to start bringing in young people to catalog and all of that. But more importantly than that, giving people an opportunity to look back at some of the issues that we covered then and why they're still relevant today. And we're using young people to do that.
So I'll say this as a viewer, because I didn't really know you back then. Okay, and we became more connected during your city council years. But as a viewer, I never looked at it as a show from an African American perspective. I just looked at it as a show that was a newsworthy show. So to hear you actually say that it was an African American perspective show, I guess it would be from your perspective. But I just looked at it as far as this is an Omaha show about what's happening here, because you didn't just have other Black people on the program. No. You had everybody on the show.
Yes,
and you were able to finesse and take a North Omaha issue and show that it's not just a North Omaha issue. It's a city.
It's a city issue.
Okay. And the city needs to be accountable for things.
Yes.
And folks out west need to know what's going on out in Omaha. Back when I was working with that local radio station, the community radio station, 101.3 FM out of Malcolm X Center, my co-host and I, Michelle Troxclair, we went to, what's that freedom thing that Rick...
Rick Alusha, the Free Speech Society.
And you're the one who invited us.
Yeah.
Because he was on our show, and he told us that John McAllister was going to be a guest there. And John McAllister was the guy who had just come out and called his party, he's a Republican, called him racist. So I said, I'd really like to meet him. And Tom goes, well, they're going to be at this thing. You should come out and meet him. So Michelle and I go out there. I get there first, and I'm going, there's a lot of white people in here. This place, or Eddie Murphy, this place ain't too popular with the brothers.
But at the same token, then you'll recall we wound up having a Free Speech Society meeting at the Malcolm X Center. And
hey, can I tell my story?
I thought I was part of the story.
Oh yeah, but you jumped like
don't worry about me. I'll just sit here and drink.
So Michelle and I go to this thing, and we're the only black people in the room. You were there. We're the only black people there. And some lady said something about, well, I don't understand why the folks in North Omaha are so upset. And Michelle was coming out of her seat. And I had to like grab her. Hey, sit down. Here, let me feel this one. And I got up and I said, just out of curiosity, in the last 5 years, how many of you have actually been in North Omaha? It was like maybe 2 or 3 hands. And it was for business. I had to drive through it, that kind of stuff. I go, you don't know what's going on up there. And then we broke it down. You're crowing about how the unemployment rate is so low, maybe statewide, but not in North Omaha. It's double digit. This is back then. And I'm going, things are bad. There are no sidewalks. Things are bad. And then I let Michelle go at it. And Michelle has 2 sons. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid to let my sons out, whether it be the police or the elements that are out there to hurt them. And when it was over, all these people descended on us, including who was the head? Thibodeau, Teresa Thibodeau, and Douglas County Republicans. I said, come on the show. I had Thibodeau and McAllister on the show, and we just talked about issues. And then I said, let's do something bigger. And we invited them to hold their next meeting at the Malcolm X Center. It was funny because Michelle and I are on the phone, and she's in her car, and I'm going, look at all these white people. They don't know. Should we get out of the car now? Are you going to go in? Okay, let's go in. And it was great. We had an exchange of ideas. And this is me talking like an up with people person. You got to meet the person sometimes to know. You got to be in their shoes.
If more people were for people, what a great world.
If more people were for people, all people everywhere, there'd be a lot less people to worry about.
And a lot more people that
and
care.
A lot more people who care.
That is an up with people song. My dad, you and I went to a convention years ago. I'm a kid. We went to a convention, and up with people. I performed at this convention. Mm-hmm. He bought the album. And all the
t-shirt.
stuff. All the t-shirt, all this stuff. So So he's teaching us kids to sing the up with people song. It was like like the really bad episode of the Brady Bunch or something. I don't know. We're just starting our own band singing up with people. So when you brought that up, that just brought back a childhood memory.
Have you finished what you were going to say about what you're doing with Kaleidoscope?
I was just about to ask that. Can we piggyback to that?
Yeah.
This is something that you're archiving, or
no? Yeah, this is something that we want to use young people to do the archiving.
It's just
so
your
that
show, or
these are the shows that I've done over the years. Okay, they're various shows. I mean, and you're. Let me give you an example of what you'll find. My first television show. My first show as the permanent host of Kaleidoscope was with Bill Cosby.
Oh, wow.
I went down and
Dr. Bill Cosby.
Dr. Bill Cosby. I went down and I went to Kansas, and I did a 2-part series with Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Wow.
I did, I didn't know it at the time, and nobody in our newsroom thought that I did an interview with Jimmy Carter.
Listen.
Because nobody thought that he was going to ever be president. Here in Omaha, we didn't cover him.
That's right.
When he came, he just went through and visited with a few people. So I sat down and did an interview with him. Next thing I know, the man's president.
I did the same thing with Trump.
Media.
And you're going to find places, you're going to find shows where we try to address gang violence by having gang members come in, doing interviews with them, talking to them, setting them down and talking to each other.
We had gang members because of him walking around the newsroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
hired a couple of them.
He hired them.
They're people.
But those are the kinds of things that you will see, when you start archiving that show. We were involved in, there were 3 priests who went to Iran during the Iranian hostage crisis. They came back. We did interviews with them. Huh?
Where is this being shown?
So how can if she were interested in how
are they
Omaha Television handle this, where would she go find it?
Right now we're in the process of setting things up so that we can get it together. Yeah, so that we can start. But I'm hoping that by the time summer starts, we will be able to put some people to work doing the archiving. Plus, the young people, we will be doing interviews with other young
Like,
people and
keeping it
and then
going.
sometimes with me,
Yeah.
you know, to talk about, well, why did you go to Kansas to talk to Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Mhm.
Why did you go to, you know, why did you go here and visit with Bill Cosby? Why'd you do the thing with Jimmy Carter when nobody else thought he was ever going to be president? Why did you do those things? And,
Yeah.
you know, those kinds of discussions that you
motivated
have.
you.
And I'm just, I'm just touching the tip of it. I mean, there's the Rice Poindexter case. There's a number of other, and these guys are innocent, by the way. They're going to go.
I'm still talking to Kitron.
Okay.
Kitron Zykel. Yeah, I told her I'm gonna have to get you on here and do something.
Yeah.
About Poindexter.
And you should. She's followed this case religiously for like I have for years.
Yeah, I said I'm gonna need to see your video. Let's get something going. Hey, I don't know if you heard us talking about you. Can you hear us out there?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was telling him.
I
figured
you.
I was telling him that when I first moved here in '82, and my friends in New York are going like, so what's it like out there, man? Any black people? You know, they work with any black? I said, well, there's a brother here. He's a photographer / journalist, and I think he's like the embodiment of Malcolm X. I'm not sure. And I told you this 2 years ago. And I said, he even had the haircut and the glasses, man, and he's fiery. I said, I was happy to get him to laugh one time. I said, oh, good, I can tell a joke. He'll laugh. Did the white man put you up to that? No, man. What?
And this is the thing about just getting to know what people think in some ways, just knowing people, because I felt the same way about Houston Alexander. The first time I saw Houston Alexander.
Well, he's an imposing sucker, yeah.
No, that's just it. First time I see Houston Alexander, it was on TV, right? He was in a fight, right? Yeah. And he comes out, he's wearing the Nebraska hat, and he's just looking so mean. And I'm just going, oh, dear God, this is the image of Nebraska he's putting out there. Oh, my God. You know, it's just like, he just looked like he would, hit anybody in the groin, just for the hell of it, for entertainment. And then you meet the guy, and he's one of the nicest guys in the world.
I ran into him again last week at the Jet Awards.
Yeah.
And he was all dressed up.
Oh, he was there.
Yeah. And he comes up to me, and I'm going, who is this guy? I'm going, that's Houston Alexander.
Yeah.
He dresses up nicely, and he calmed down. Okay, good.
And we do find things that, artificially separate us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, black, white, Christian, Jew, Muslim, whatever.
New Yorker, Cleveland, yeah.
Well, yeah, that one's reasonable. But we find these artificial ways to separate ourselves. I live next door to a family of 10 Afghan refugees. Mom, dad, 8 kids. All right. There's a sign in their front yard now about how well these kids are doing learning English as a second language. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at that with such pride. Now somebody else will look at that and say, oh, wait a minute, Muslims and don't speak English and find that as, no, man, these are good, decent people, but you got to get to know them.
The thing with Omaha that stands out, my father came out here again when I first got here, the 80s, and he was like, what is it with this place with you? I said, I like it so far. It's working out okay. And then he came back at me and he goes, you know what? I kind of like it too. I can sit on your front porch and read my book. Nobody gives me a hard time. And he said, but we're all the black people. So I had to take him up to North O with Joyce Young. So come on, we're going to take everything and show you. Ooh. And woo, I thought I was doing my James Brown stick. Baby, please, don't go. Anyway, I don't even know where I was with this. Oh, yeah. I wish my dad could see Omaha now, man. Charles Drew, when I came back 13 years ago, asked me to do a project on, behind the scenes of Charles Drew. Back then, they had 83 different translators for different languages and sub-languages, because when you're dealing with Cambodians, you're dealing with tribal things. Now, you walk in the place, it's like the UN. It's like all these races in here, man. And I kind of get a rush off of it, when I get a chance to go to Westroads anymore. There's all these people working together. And I know some people are going, that's my problem. They're all here.
Yeah.
They're like roaches. They're all over the place. Yeah. But I love it.
People, and that's just it. You get to know them and understand them. I mean, that's why we're, gay people used to be such they're gay.
Taboo.
People that say, wait a minute, I got a cousin who's gay. I got a coworker who's gay. I got a neighbor who's gay. They're all good people. And then all of a sudden, the gay marriage thing was not that big of an issue for people. And if you notice, I mean, now it's the transgender thing that's such a big thing with so many politicians. But, you know, once you get to know people, say, okay, ain't for me, but, you know, live your life and, you know, I wish you happiness, you know, and that's all you can do, man. Just be cool with people.
I feel like I should be humming the song, Getting to Know You, Getting to Know All About You. Katie, we're about wrapping it up here. You got any final thoughts you want to share with us? Health.
Get your
Hey, is there any chance we can get you to do something a little bit more developed next week, a little bit more healthy?
A little bit more. What do you mean?
That tastes like grape?
I just didn't. Did we not say that earlier?
Ben's over here watching his watch, so we need
No, I'm not watching my watch. I got a message.
Just
or something that doesn't taste like kale.
Something that, I'll get you something.
Yeah, something
more
that doesn't tast like the bottom of my fish tank.
No, but actually,
How do you know what that tastes like?
Because
That's even more
because
concerning.
if you've never had a fish tank,
Yes, I have.
the big ones,
Yeah.
where you have to suck the water out like that with a hose to clear, and
I didn't
you get
do
it
that
in your
part.
mouth.
I
Yes,
said,
I've
"Here,
tasted
bro.
it.
Here, bro, this is for you. I had brothers. But I just want to piggyback again to Houston Alexander. Y'all just brought him up earlier. And then just, you know, talking about your show that you're archiving. Like, we've been in the media and we've been covering things, you know what I mean? And Houston Alexander, how you said, like, you know, he's all buff and all that. He does this culture shock tour that he's been doing for years. He's invited me to a few of them. It's a partnership with OPS, and he educates kids and does like a huge assembly, and he always gives away prizes and bikes. And people from young and old remember him for these culture shock tours.
You know what? I'm glad you told me that, because instinctively last week when I saw him, I said, you know what? I got to get you on the show. And he was like, yes.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think at the time, what can I pitch? You know, has he got a fight coming up? But no.
Well, he's a fascinating man.
When you get Houston on, talk to him about the Scribble Crew.
The Scribble Crew? Is that a graffiti or something?
We'll go and talk to him about it.
He was the graffiti artist of North Omaha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he was. I mean, he had a crew. They tagged different things that in a positive way. I had him on the show before he thought about fighting or anything like that. He was.
What is he now? 40?
I'm not guessing at people's ages. All I know is this. Talk to him, because that was part of his, I think, kind of coming out a little bit, because I did a couple of shows with him and the Scribble Crew, and then talked about.
I think we remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you were talking about gang members. Was it Robert Reed?
Robert Penn.
Robert Penn. Yeah. Robert Reed was a student of mine. Yeah. Who should have been in in a gang. But Robert Penn, anything about him? What's he doing?
Businessman.
He's a business.
He's a former gang member.
Yeah. A businessman here in town.
Yes.
Selling what?
Oh, he's doing construction work now.
Oh, contractor.
Yeah, he's doing contracting.
You know,
is that his own company?
Yes.
That's cool.
I do volunteer work at the Nebraska State Pen, and they've actually had programs there where they take these gang members and they say, look, you're selling drugs, but you got to have inventory management. You got to deal with your employees. And let's just channel this
HR.
now.
But you got to
channel this now so that you use these
that
same
was
skills.
That was back in the 80s, and he was one of the guys that I hired on the show. To help do the show.
Yeah,
I should bring him on. Just talking about a turnaround, you know.
Oh, he'd be glad to tell you.
Because Robert must be about 55 now.
Oh, I'm not going to get old. Because time has gone so fast for me, man.
Case in point, we were waiting here to do the show, and I said, well, do you guys know what Enron is? Looking at Katie and Cam, because they're in their 30s. And they said, yeah, we know what Enron is. I said, well, that happened in the 80s. And they go, no, it didn't.
Yeah, not the one I remember. Yeah.
Right.
And they were going, well, maybe there was another Enron.
Seriously, me and Cam were like, what?
So I had to look it up, going, oh, okay, no problem. Gentlemen, first of all, I appreciate you coming on here, man.
Sure.
Did you get everything off your chest?
Well, I didn't have.
Is there any final thought you'd like to share before you haul out of here?
The only thing that I would say, and I would continue to say this over and over again, journalism is different from people getting on a television show or a radio show talking about their opinion. There are facts, and there is no such things as alternative facts. They're just facts. Okay. And in this particular instance, what people need to do is understand the facts. Donald Trump, for example, started talking about election fraud before he started running for office.
That was his
and
out.
that's the first time that had ever come up. The first time that election fraud had ever come up. And to this day, nobody can find any evidence of any significant election fraud. But you have all of these people now, even in the legislature in Lincoln, saying the same dumb stuff that they know is a lie. When they come to me and tell me, they don't even come to me with that anymore. They say, well, we got problems with the election. I know we don't, y'all lying. What you're trying to do is get black people not to vote. I know what you're trying to do. That's what it is. Be straight about it. Talk about what it is. Y'all lying. Ain't no such, there's never been any widespread voter fraud. None. Nowhere that anybody could find. But yet you got people saying, we got to pass all these laws. We got to straighten all this out. There's nothing to straighten out. You created a boogeyman, and now you've got us trying to buy into the boogeyman.
And they buy into it without even asking this. I had the conversation the other morning with an intelligent friend of mine, who successful businessman, who was talking about how Anheuser-Busch has lost all this market share because of the Bud Light controversy. And I said, no, they haven't. He says, well, yeah, well, I heard this. And he believed that it was true. So I got on my phone and I looked and I said, look at this. The stock has actually been going up, right? The facts are the stock has been going up. But he was sure that Budweiser had lost all this business because of the Bud Light controversy.
But he listened to somebody that gives their opinion, not a fact.
Right.
Somebody gave him your opinion. There's a difference between opinions and facts.
You know, last week we had to deal with this because after our first show, I heard from someone I've known for 45 years from Denver. And she was like, oh, can't you be just, the journalist like you were in the past and, just give the story? And I'm going, no, not in this case. I can't turn a blind eye to kids getting ripped apart by military-style weapons. I can't turn a blind eye to obvious racism in the Tennessee legislature. And I said, this is what it is. I'm telling you. And as we said then, the tenets that I had as a journalist, fairness, common sense, honesty. It's what I took into politics. In fact, you'll find a billboard somewhere that says that. And I brought it into this thing. I'm not going to tell you something that's not true. If I tell you something that's not true, I'll go, I'm just joking.
I don't know how much time you have left.
Actually,
it's a podcast. We can go all day.
I mean,
you got a tent in the back. We can stay for a while. Go ahead.
No,
just move this over.
I just want people to. It's never said enough that people need to do their own homework. People need to find out. Talk to people who are actually in the know, who are actually have done these things. When you look at what they're doing, what's happening in Florida, for example, where they're banning books.
And
they're banning books
I read in high school. I'm going,
they're
really?
banning books. And we call this the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we're banning books
from school or in general?
And
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, we're banning books. Yeah,
they banned that.
Yeah, they're trying to ban that. They're trying to ban I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
What?
All of those things by Maya Angelou. They're trying to ban all of this stuff, and I'm saying,
what is the reasoning?
What do you think? Do you think somehow you're going to convince people that Tulsa didn't happen?
Wow.
Are you going to try and convince people that Rosewood didn't happen? Are you going to try and convince people that George Floyd didn't happen?
Let's help people.
Are you going to try and come on? Are you
Rosewood,
Florida? Rosewood, Florida.
These were communities, black communities, thriving black communities
destroyed.
That were destroyed.
That were destroyed. You're going to tell me Rosewood, Florida didn't happen. You're going to tell me that Tulsa, Oklahoma didn't happen. You're going to tell me that George Floyd didn't happen. Is that what you're trying to tell me? And you're telling me this because you say, well, we don't want white kids to feel bad.
History.
Oh, that's just it.
Really? I mean, that when we don't know each other, that's when fear happens.
Yes.
When we start knowing each other, those tendencies for fear start to go away. And what I was going to say, Michael, is that when I first got on the city council, a woman and I won't mention her name, but she's an African American. She's also Jewish by birth. And she sent me this little pamphlet that talked about the various sins. And you know what the top sin is? The biggest sin is fear. And that's what's being used on us. It was used on us in 1954 when we pledged allegiance to the flag. You know, I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, all of that. They didn't say anything about God.
Yeah,
they added that in 54. There was no, in God we trust on our money. It wasn't there until 54 when we were afraid of the communist menace, so to speak. We had created that fear. We fed that fear to our people, and things changed as a result of that fear, rather than looking at it from a holistic perspective and saying, do we need to have this? Does it need to be there? Does it lend anything to anything? You know, those are the things that we need to be talking seriously about, and we don't talk about those things. What we've done in this society is we've used fear to keep people in check.
Well, fear is always a great motivator. I mean, you know, hey, buy my security devices so somebody doesn't break into your home. Hey, buy my mouthwash so you don't have bad breath. You know, people to shun you. I mean, it's all about fear. You know, fear is such a great motivator.
We've seen evidence of fear in the last 2 weeks with young people getting shot by homeowners.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. You know, oh, the guy ran the door.
Well, that might be fear. That may be fear.
Yeah.
No, that may be fear. That may be something else.
Oh, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the fear, though, with the 2 cheerleaders, they were Hispanic or white. They look Hispanic white, but the guy who shot him was Hispanic because they grabbed his door.
Yeah.
How many times have you done that yourself? Gone up to the wrong car.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't.
Or someone do it to you. Go, hey, what's up, man? I'm going to take a gun and blow you out. No, I didn't do that next. I just
but you shouldn't be shot at because your ball goes into somebody else's yard.
Yeah.
Ben, I want to address something that you said, though, because I understand where you're coming at and say that when they talk about election fraud and all that, they want to ban black people for voting. I understand your perspective on that. I think it's even broader than that. Because if you take a look at how the media, I don't like this news story, so it's fake news. So you can't trust the media. You can't trust our judges. You can't trust our elections. I think it's much more. I think it's a much broader thing than what you're saying. You know, and that's the danger. And that's the danger when you got to look and say, look, trust but verify. I mean, you go to the elections. You go to the Douglas County Election Commission, right? When they're counting votes, there's windows all around the room where they're counting votes, where Republicans and Democrats can look at what they're doing and see what they're doing. I mean, it's very transparent, but they want to go out there and they want to put that fear in there because, your guy didn't win. So therefore, you've been cheated. They cheated you.
I want to tell you, fear. Church lady this past November was working with Douglas County when it comes to votes and stuff like that. And I said, are there cameras? I'll be at the door to pick you up. I was worried because you don't know what nuts are out there right now who are going, I don't like the way the vote's going. It's her fault. Yeah, I can understand the fear. I can understand the fear. Hey, gentlemen, I'm going to have to wrap us up here. Something else you two have in common besides having a Cleveland Cavalier losing team. But
just throw that in there.
What?
No, that's
Hit it one more time.
you're a gracious
know
host.
what?
Yeah.
I loved you, him. I won't be back for this.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing you
It'll
both
be
have
on
in common.
Cam's behalf.
In the last 2 years, you both have been considered as Michael Scott co-hosts for a podcast.
That's a resume
Yeah,
builder.
it's not that exclusive of a list.
Because 2 years ago, I just threw
I
something.
don't think I'm going to include that in my resume.
That's not in the kaleidoscope.
Yeah, that's not it.
Well, when he and I were at Nebraska Sunrise News, they were going, he's running around going, Kaleidoscope 2.0. Going, slow down, man. Let's get one of us on here. And then this guy, 2 years ago, I approached him and we put on Facebook, hey, Tom Becka and I were talking about doing a podcast. And we got like overwhelming response of, let's get the two of you on.
Yeah.
They'll suck the oxygen out of the room, the two of you. But
this has been fun.
Which you have done.
definitely want to have you on again.
Sure.
So much to be said. And I tease you, baby Malcolm, but you do well. You're a knowledgeable man and you watched what goes on. And you're observant and you share, and I appreciate that. Tom Becka,
Whatever him.
I was in a barber shop Friday, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have Tom Becka and Ben Gray on." And all of a sudden, you got someone go, "Oh, that racist! Oh, that Uncle Tom!" I'm going, "Would you?" And I told my barber, "Who is that guy?"
Yeah, and Michael, I don't like you because you're black. I just don't like you. Okay, I mean it has nothing to do with your skin color. It's all personality. It's.
Hey man, we're gonna do this
Take
again.
care, my friend.
We'll do this again.
All right, partner.
I appreciate it. Katie, any final thoughts you want to share with us going out here? Any health notions you want to?
Where can people buy your drink, or can they buy your drink?
Yeah,
So-
where can if they want to get your
Come
stuff?
directly to me. And next month, actually, I'll be getting back in a kitchen and getting it on Uber Eats and what's the other delivery?
DoorDash. Okay, terrific,
good.
terrific. And we will keep you posted on that. I told her, especially our age group, we're trying to be healthier right now, and if you got some alternative to share with us that hopefully tastes better.
That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
Oh, please. Oh, you did finish it.
Yeah.
I did finish it. Yes.
Cam.
I finished mine too.
Cam.
Yeah, I just got ice left.
Michael.
See, did she tell you that tomorrow your bowels are going to be green?
Oh my god.
It's just a thought.
Just another
Why do
Tuesday.
you say that? on the air?
Just another Tuesday.
I didn't know about that part.
Okay. Hey, something to keep you posted. We'll tell you next week, May 1st will be our last Monday show. And then we'll come back May 9th on a Tuesday.
Actually,
Did I get that right?
The following week.
The following week will be the 9th. Yeah.
No, it's the following week after that because Cameron told me that it'll be that.
Okay, well, I guess you all can straighten me out later. Hey, you know what? Just go to Michael Scott Unleashed. We have our own Facebook page right now. Please let us hear from you about what you think about what we're doing here. Behave. I got to get sponsors. Behave. Until next time, you take care of one another.